Hey guys, it's Helen Hart-Smith here again with
Kathy.
And if we're together, you know what that
trouble.
means.
There's trouble.
It's trouble and it's top 10 time. So,
it could be a number of other things.
right.
You know.
But on this channel, it's generally trouble and top 10 times. So, what's this one about?
This one is about father gods.
Ooh, top 10 father gods.
In no particular
In
order.
no particular order. Kathy, why don't you get us rolling?
Okay, well, number one on our list is Zeus/Jupiter, the Greek Roman names. While the Greek and Roman versions are not strictly identical, they're close enough. So
Close enough that we just put
we're
them
just gonna
together.
group them together.
We
So,
always have.
yeah, and a lot of people do too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say most because that may not be the truth. So Zeus is a sky and thunder god in the ancient Greek religion who rules the king of gods in Mount Olympus. And his name is, the hell are you putting these words in here? Cognate? With
Cognate.
the first element of his Roman equivalent, Jupiter. Okay. The mythos
Are
and
you
powers...
checking me on a big word?
I'm trying to I'm confused as to why you put it in there, but I mean, it makes sense. I'm sorry, I'm the grammar Nazi. But anyway, his mythologies and powers are similar but not identical to those of Indo-European deities such as Indra, Jupiter, Percunus, Perun, Thor, and Odin. So a lot of the father gods are going to have similar mythologies about them. They're going to have similar abilities, similar powers. That's just the father god. That's the way that is.
That's part of what the archetype is.
Right.
So.
Thank you. The archetype was the word I wasn't thinking of. So Zeus is the child of Cronus and Rhea, the youngest of his siblings to be born, although sometimes he is reckoned as the eldest, as the others required disgorging from Cronus' stomach because Cronus ate all of his children.
It's just not appealing.
Yeah, it's just, well, he didn't, there was some mythology about him being destroyed by his children or something. And so he would eat them, and he was destroyed by them anyway because self-fulfilling prophecy of most of the ancient mythologies. He is, in most traditions, married to Hera, who is a mother god, and said to have fathered Ares, Hebe, and Hephaestus. At the oracle of Dodona, his consort was said to be Dione, by whom the Iliad states that he fathered Aphrodite. Zeus was also infamous for his erotic escapades. If it moved, he slept with it.
Not necessarily. Well, that might be another part of that archetype.
If it moved, he slept with it.
Right.
Yeah. There were many godly and heroic offsprings, including Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Hermes, Persephone, Dionysus, Perseus, Heracles, Helen of Troy, Minos, and the Muses.
The Muses.
The Muses. I had not heard that Helen of Troy. I guess I don't.
Yeah, that kind of tilted my head too. But well, you Google it, that's what came up. So
I gotta to Google it.
Next on the list is Odin from the Norse pantheon. Odin is known to be a god of wisdom, a god of frenzy, invoking frenzy for good and for bad. And he's known as a poetic god. He's oftentimes depicted wearing the big, broad-rimmed hat. In mythology, he is said to have sacrificed an eye into the well of Mimir, for a drink from the well of Mimir. Oh my, someone's upset about something. He is generally depicted wearing black or blue clothing. He's known as a wanderer, and he is the father god of the Norse pantheon. His consort is Frigga, who is like a domesticated hearth home goddess. His children include Thor. Some myths say that Loki is his son. Some say that Loki is his brother. He's also a big patron of magic and for wit.
The runes.
Yes, he is the one who sacrificed himself to himself in order to gain the knowledge of the runes. He's known as a psychopomp, and that means he's a chooser of those slain in battle, and he would send the Valkyries to bring them back to his hall to become members of the Einherjar, which is his group of warriors that will fight with him on Ragnarok. We talked about how he hung himself on the world tree Yggdrasil in order to gain the power and the knowledge of the runes. All of his actions are related to knowledge, wisdom, and the discernment of ideas and concepts to help mankind. So he's a pretty cool dude, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. So that's Odin.
Hello. No, you can't jump up there. I'm sorry, I'm protecting my Hogwarts. No.
From the evil kitty.
From the evil kitty who wants to be up there and cannot be up there. So the next god is El, the Canaanite God, which a lot of people would associate it as the Christian God. It began with El. So in the Canaanite religion, or Levantine religion as a whole, El, or El, was the supreme god, the father of humankind and creatures, and the husband of the goddess Asherah, which was, of course, edited out of the Bible. As recorded in the...
Asherah does appear in the Bible.
Very little. Mm-hmm. Right. As recorded in the tablets of... Is that Ugarit?
Ugarit, I believe.
What? The word El was found at the top of a list of gods as the ancient of gods, or the father of all gods, in the ruins of the Royal Library of the Ebla civilization, and the archaeological site of Tel Marduk in Syria, dated 2300 BC. So he has been around for a long time. It's possible that he was a desert god at some point. The myths say that he has 2 wives and built a sanctuary with them, and his new children in the desert. He fathered many gods, but most important were Hadad, Yam, and Mot, each of whom have similar attributes to the Greek gods Zeus, Poseidon, or Ophion, and Hades or Thantos, respectively. So ancient Greek mythographers identified El with Cronus, the Titan, as distinguished from Kronos.
Yeah. So this is all like the Canaanite people prior to
the monotheistic.
So this is when they were Hebrews before they were Jewish.
Right.
And that's where
it would be the Canaanites.
Yeah. Right. Well, before
they became monotheistic.
Right.
Yes.
They were known as Hebrew. So next on the list is Ra, and of course he's probably one of the most popular gods in the Egyptian pantheon, and specifically Ra is from the Egyptian Old Kingdom. And I'm differentiating there because we've got one on this list from the Old Kingdom and one from the New Kingdom. So the early Egyptians believed that Ra created the world, okay? And the rising sun was for them a symbol of creation. And so the daily cycle as the sun rose and set, only to rise again the next morning, symbolized a renewal. So Ra was seen as the paramount force of creation and the master of life. His closest ally is Ma'at, who was the embodiment of order and truth.
And weighed your heart when you died against a feather. Yes.
Ra was also closely connected to the pharaoh, whoever was pharaoh kind of thing, the Egypt's king. When the king ruled earth, Ra was the master of the universe, so they were of the same nature and were in effect a mirror image of each other. So Ra was very important to the people.
And at some point, Ra was associated with our next god, Amun, so it was Amun Ra for a while. Mm-hmm. But Amun was from the Egyptian New Kingdom. He is known as the Invisible One. He was actually the most spiritual of the Egyptian gods. His element was air. He gained most of his prestige after replacing the war god Mantu as the principal god of Thebes during Egyptians' new kingdom, when he was recognized as the king of gods. By that time, because Egypt had a large influence in the world, he became a universal god. In fact, by the 25th dynasty, Amun Ra was even the chief god of the Nubian kingdom of Napata, and by the Ptolemaic or Greek period, he was regarded as the Egyptian equivalent of Zeus. However, he is actually mentioned in a pyramid text from the Old Kingdom, 5th dynasty, which shows him to be a primeval deity and a symbol of a creative force. So he was which could be why he was then conflagrated with Amun, to be Amun Ra. So the texts seem to think that he was very, very ancient. He was one of the 8 He gods of the Agdod of Hermopolis, where his original consort was Amenet. It's very far away. Amnet. His worship may have originated at Hermopolis, but another possibility was that he functioned early on as a less prominent god, as so many of them did, at Thebes, where he eventually flourished. The Nubians, however, believed that he originated at Gebel Barkal, located in the modern north of the Sudan.
Yes. Deep shit. I mean, I haven't studied the Egyptians, but I feel like I should. There's always something that I should be learning more about. So the next father god on our list, in number 6, are you keeping track? 1, 2, 3.
This is not particular order.
Yeah.
Right.
But you gotta, anyhow. Dagda. For the longest time, I thought that it was pronounced Thagtha or Thagfa. No, apparently, I don't know. I've heard people saying it both ways, so I don't even know. I don't even know anymore.
What is it?
Yeah. So he is a Celtic god, and his name means good god. So he's sometimes called, why do I do this to myself? I'm not even going to try it.
The father of all.
Yeah, the father of all.
Or the Lord of great knowledge.
Right. Let's just not even do the Celtic because it's really hard to wrap your lips around. Unlike some of the other major Irish deities, Dagda was a deity that was confined to Ireland. It looks like he was only worshipped and recognized in Ireland. No reference or evidence was found of him being worshipped on the European continent. So he was just in Ireland. There's some confusion about his parentage. Some stories say he was the son of the goddess Danu and Baal. And he's also called one of the 7 sons of Ethliu.
It's so strange how, I get that there's been centuries and a lot of the mythology was passed from mouth
orally
to mouth.
Yeah, because they're really, they had the Ogam, but nothing was recorded in it.
Well, and a lot of this stuff comes from before there was any written language. So it's interesting how nobody seems to, there's no Wikipedia.
There was no Wikipedia in ancient
So
Ireland.
now, you could have counties away where they believe completely different things about the same, but called the god the same thing.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely interesting. So he's the father of many deities, and among them is Angus Og, who was a Celtic love god and fertility god. He was quite virile. And the river goddess Boann. By his mother Danu, he was the father of Ogma. Some other writers say that Ogma and Dagda were brothers, and this is where he was the son of Ithiliu, whatever. Quit murdering the names, Helen. He's also known, let's see, he could be the brother of Nuada, Gibhue.
Okay, skip past all the names.
Yeah, skip past. He is considered the chief leader and the god of the Tuatha De Danann, and was the father of many children. He was pretty virile. Are you sensing a theme here? He's virile.
That's why they're called father gods, Helen.
Right. He's also Briid's father. So he's kind of special to me in that way. He's described as a huge and stocky man with superhuman strength, as well as superhuman appetite. The Fomorians once held Dagda prisoner, and they threatened to kill him if he did not eat the entire porridge in a deep pit. He's said to have used an enormous wooden spoon in which a man and a woman could sleep in together, and had him some porridge. So that's kind of cool. He possessed several magical objects. One of them was a magic cauldron from the magic city of Morias. The cauldron was never empty of food, probably because he ate a lot and he needed to have that sustenance. And it was called the Cauldron of Dagda. He's also said to have a large club or hammer that was so heavy that it needed wheels. And it could kill or it could give life. That's pretty interesting. The club and the cauldron bear a striking resemblance to the ancient Gaelic god Sucellus.
Sucellus.
Yeah.
Sucellus.
He also had a magical harp that it was said to change the seasons and the weather when it was played. That's kind of groovy. Yeah, so it said that he died in the second battle of Mag Tirid. Yet Dagda appeared during the reign of Alil and Meb in the Dream of Angus. Yeah. So he's got a lot of history to him, Dagda does. And he's kind of cool.
You're just trying to slaughter me with these words. Mulungu is a Bantu father god. It is the common name for a creator deity in a number of Bantu languages and cultures over East and Central Africa.
See, we try to spread it out. So
today the name Mulungu is often used to refer to the Christian or Islamic god. The Swahili word for god, Mungu, is a contraction of the original form of Mulungu, which still appears in Swahili manuscripts in the 18th century. So all traditional Bantu cultures have a notion of a creator god, which I think most cultures have a notion of a creator god or goddess, a concept which was already established in the Niger-Congo cultures. The creator god is usually seen as a remote deity, far attached from men and living beings. In some cases, it is more personal, a creating force, eminent rather than imminent. How's that term?
Yeah. Eminent. I don't know.
It's been a long
Mumblers.
day. I worked today. It was a long day of numbers and freight bills, and I'm tired, and now I have a kitty on my lap, and now I'm petting my kitty and relaxing.
Do you want to be done with Mulungu?
Nope. I got more. This detachment is the subject of a number of Bantu myths describing how the creator left Earth, moving to the sky as a consequence of him being upset with men or annoyed by their activities. Because men suck, except my husband.
Oh, that's harsh. I don't agree with you.
Okay, some men are nice.
Some women are dicks.
Some women are dicks. Yes, you are so right. It is thus a common trait of Bantu religions that no prayers and usually no worship is directed toward the creator god because he doesn't listen, right? Men interact with the lower level gods and spirits that are closer and more interested in human affairs. I was actually reading an interesting book or article on this not that long ago. How the gods don't really care about you, especially the higher level gods, and so that's why we interact with the lower level gods. And the saints per se to intercede on behalf of us with the higher level gods because they're too busy to pay attention to us common folk.
Yeah, okay, I'll buy that. A scotch.
Oh, it was a classic convocation. That's what it was. These general lines are common to traditional concepts of Mulungu as found in Kikuyu, Ruvu, and other cultures.
I apologize if we're murdering any of these names.
A myth about the departure of Mulungu from the earth involves Mulungu being upset at the fires set by men at the landscape and asking the spider to weave a web for him to climb up to the sky.
Ooh.
So, given that description of him, I can see why he is associated with a Christian God, because that is another God that is separate and apart from humanity.
Yeah, that does make sense. Next on the list is Dyaus Pitr. Pitr.
Dyaus Pitr.
And he is from the Hindu pantheon. And so he is the Father Heaven deity of the Vedic pantheon. And he appears in some hymns with the Earth Mother. His mount, because I'm understanding that the Hindu deities, they all have some kind of an animal that they ride. And so his mount is the cow. His abode is in the sky, and it's called Dayuloka. And his siblings are Varana, Igni, and Vayu. And I didn't find out much information about him. He's just there.
A father god.
Yeah, he's a father god.
Okay.
Oh. What?
Are you going to stop scrolling now?
Sorry.
Hey, we do not bite. Apparently somebody is getting a little overstimulated.
Don't bet
Sorry,
the cat.
I'm trying to make sure she doesn't bite me. So the number 8 is a Wakan Tanka, and again, I apologize.
That
for
is
the
correct.
slaughtering of the pronunciation.
That is
It
correct.
a Lakota god. In Native American mythology, Wakan Tanka, so also known as Great Mystery, is the supreme being and creator of the Lakota Sioux. Sometimes called the Great Spirit, he is similar to supreme beings found in the midst of many other North American peoples, which the gods have many names, and it's, very similar across pantheons. According to Lakota myth, before creation, Wakan Tanka existed in a great emptiness called Han, not Han Solo, darkness.
Han.
Feeling lonely, he decided to create companions for himself. First, Great Spirit focused his energy into a powerful force from Inyan, or rock, the first god. Next, he used Inyan to create Maka, earth, and then mated with that god to produce Skan, sky. Skan brought forth We, the sun, from Inan, Maka, and himself. Are these all men gods?
I don't think so. Well, no, because the earth would be a female because the native people see Mother Earth.
Okay.
So
I was wondering because it didn't specify, and it seemed strange. These 4 gods were separate and powerful, but they were all part of Wakan Tanka. The first 4 gods produced 4 companions, Moon, Wind, Falling Star, and Thunderbird, to help with the process of creation. In turn, these companions created various gods and spirits, including Whirlwind, 4 Winds, Buffalo, 2-legged creatures, which would be humans and bears, Kun, Thought, Nagi, Spirit of Death, Naya, Breath of Life, and Nagila, Shadow. All of these beings were aspects of Wakan Tanka. Together they created and oversee everything that exists.
I thought that was kind of cool.
It is cool.
I'm not even going to comment any further. I did a lot of native study stuff, so there's like little nuancy things that would be really cool, but yeah, we're going to just move on. So number 9 is Marduk from the Babylonian pantheon. He is the great god of Babylon, the king of kings, the guardian of law, the great sorcerer, the great healer, and the slayer of Tiamat. Marduk was seen as order, fighting against chaos, the conflict from which all creation emerges. Defeating Tiamat, which was another big god in that area, Marduk brought order and life to the world. When the tables of destiny were seized from Kingu, Marduk fastened them into his own breast and so brought control of the earth under the divine authority of the gods. Mighty Marduk, the all-powerful war god and sky god of the Babylonians, is said to have built Babylon as his home and created humankind to dwell there and toil there for the gods after he slew Tiamat. So myth tells us. And if you're an Anne Rice fan, Marduk is heavily talked about in Servant of the Bones.
I knew that name was really familiar.
Yeah. Marduk.
All
Yeah.
I can think of is something in Tanagra, Enchilada Tanagra.
That's Star Trek.
I know it is, but that's all I could think.
Marduk and
Jalad at Tanagra.
Tanagra, yeah.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I knew it was Marduk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Marduk, yeah. I think my numbers got off a little bit because that is 10. And I think I just got off a scooch because Marduk says 9, but then there was one up here that didn't have a number.
Oh, yeah.
So that's 10.
10.
We just might be off a little bit in our numbers. So there is our top 10 father gods. There was a lot of information that it's hard to kind of like remember all that. So that's why it's important to kind of have at least an outline of things that we can, because with Odin is the only one that either one of us like really interacts with a lot, correct? From that list?
From
that list?
Yeah. I mean, I was familiar with a few of them. But
Right.
Yeah.
So, I know that we're kind of reading some of this information, but I would rather have us read correct information than remember the wrong thing.
We do that enough.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's okay to pull shit out of your ass, but when you're talking about gods like this, not a good, don't misrepresent them or the hand will come down and say, So there is top 10 father gods. If I know that we missed some, but we were trying
there's a father god in every pantheon. So
theoretically.
And sometimes more than one, so there's no way that we could list them all.
Right. So we were basically just we were going for ones that, were
from
widely known,
pantheons.
because that's what the top 10 is supposed to be, like the top 10 ones that you can like think of or whatever. And so sometimes we got to fill out the list with doing some actual research. So, if there's a father god that you work with that wasn't on this list,
let us know.
Then of course, let us know in the comments below. This list will appear in the description box. It'll be there for like a quick reference guide. Some folks requested that, and so I've been doing that. So did you like this one? If so,
if you haven't already, please subscribe.
The red button is down there.
And share this with your friends.
Definitely.
So they can laugh at us too.
Yeah, as we laugh at ourselves.
Yes, we do. Social media is also in the description box below. That would be Facebook and both Helen and my Instagram.
Definitely check those out.
If you have suggestions for top 10s, please let us know.
For sure.
If you have questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at
heartofthewitchespath@yahoo.com.
or leave a comment below.
Correct.
Did we cover everything?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. And thanks for walking the path for a little while with us. Until next time, blessed be.